Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to Soul Good. I'm Amber Marie, and this is your 2023 Tarotscope. If you're curious about the decks that I'm using today, you can find a list of them in the description box below. You can also find links to my social media accounts, as well as links to information on personal readings and the Soul Good membership channel on Telegram. There will also be a timestamp in the description box if you would like to bypass any shuffling. We're going to be looking at a lot of information today, Scorpio, so please do remember that this is a collective reading, not a personal reading, so please only take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Let's jump right in and see what's going on for you this year. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us about Scorpio's theme for 2023, please. Wow, that was fast. That was so fast. Tell us about a shift or an epiphany that will take place for Scorpio in 2023, please. Tell us about a shift or an epiphany. Thank you. Excuse me, messing up all my little intricacies over here. Sorry, that's my Leo Virgo tendencies showing. All right, let's take a look at Scorpio's biggest asset for 2023, please. Tell us about Scorpio's biggest asset for 2023. Thank you. Tell us about what Scorpio will have an opportunity to learn this year. What will Scorpio have an opportunity to learn in 2023, please? Thank you. What does Scorpio's soul want them to know for 2023? What does Scorpio's soul want them to know for 2023, please? Okay. Quite a few messages there. What does God want you to know, Scorpio? You can call it Source, Universe, right? Whatever. I call it God. Thank you. And what is a blessing that Scorpio will have an opportunity to receive in 2023, please? What is a blessing that Scorpio will have the opportunity to receive in 2023? Okay, thank you. All right, let's get some clarity for you, Scorpio. Tell us more about Scorpio's theme for 2023, please. Tell us more about Scorpio's theme for 2023. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Okay. Lots of cards showing up here. All right. Tell us about a shift or an epiphany. Tell us more about that for 2023, please. Tell us more about Scorpio's shift or an epiphany in 2023. Thank you. How would you like... No, that's too much. Nice clear message for Scorpio, please. Tell us more about a shift or an epiphany that Scorpio will experience in 2023, please. Thank you. How would you like? Okay. Tell us more, please, about Scorpio's biggest asset for 2023. Okay. Thank you. Tell us more about what Scorpio will have an opportunity to learn. Wow, that was fast. Thank you. Tell us more about what Scorpio's soul wants them to know for 2023, please. Okay, thank you. Tell us more about what God wants Scorpio to know for 2023. Thank you. And finally, tell us more about a blessing that Scorpio will have the opportunity to receive in 2023. Okay, thank you. All right, let's jump in, Scorpio. Let's take a look at your theme for 2023. There are a couple of cards here. You have Y, the number 31, showing up first. Okay, the number 31 reduces to 4. 4 is about manifestations. It's also about foundations and stability. So here's the thing, Scorpio. I feel like in 2023, you could be asking yourself, what are your motives? Right? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you want to pursue whatever it is you want to pursue? Right? What are you trying to create by pursuing said things? Like, what is your why? Right? What is the reason behind what you're doing? Again, what are your intentions and what are your motives? Right? I feel like this is going to be a highlighted or I mean, I understand that it's in the position of the theme, right? But I feel like this is going to be a question that keeps surfacing over and over and over again, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it helpful for you? Is it beneficial? Is it helping you to create firm foundations? Is it helping you to create stability? Is it helping you to bring forward the life that you want to experience, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is why you're doing what you're doing even something you want, right? Because oftentimes we buy and sell things that are not even ours. So for example, what do I mean by that? Okay, maybe your mom told you you should be a doctor, so you bought that, and then you're like, I want to be a doctor when I get up, or when I grow up, excuse me. So that's you selling that, right? And then you started to pursue becoming a doctor. And then maybe you're like, why am I even doing this? And maybe you're not even doing it for you, right? So these are important questions to be asking, especially as you move forward. Okay. You also have here by the book. So this is the number 11. Scorpio, I feel like you could potentially be experiencing quite an awakening this year due to that number 11. Oftentimes, the number 11 is correlated with a new awakening. Ones do represent new beginnings, opportunities, potential, those sorts of things, right? So I feel like you could have the opportunity to experience again an awakening or a new beginning this year. I want to read for you though, Scorpio, the oracle message for this card. I feel like it could give us a little more context or a little something extra to kind of piece these pieces together, piece this puzzle together. Okay, so it says here, the by the book says the essential meanings: abiding by social rules, conformity, respecting cultural or family customs, and universal laws. The universe works within a structure of divine laws and principles that provides a framework for human experience and evolution. The law of abundance, the law of prayer, the law of karma, the law of attraction, the law of thought, the law of compensation, and the law of nature are only a few that are known. These principles create these principles create perfect order and operate within a kind of precision beyond human understanding. Even revolution has its place in universal law. Human beings, in turn, have their own laws and customs that vary from culture to culture and family to family. Laws keep social order and govern behavior, reflecting an instinctive understanding that harmony is important. This is a time to learn these laws and conform to them, rather than being the rebel and flouting them. When this card appears, submit to structure and follow the rules even if they seem to make no sense. Release resistance, for universal laws will correct any disharmony. Open your eyes to those universal laws, and it will be easier to go by the book at this time. So it's interesting because you have by the book with this 11 card here, and then you have the Y card that actually has a book on it. Okay, so like, here's your sign, first of all. Second of all, right, with this by the book and the Y card, again, that Y is really asking, what are your motives behind what you're doing, right? And by the book, there's the energy of those universal laws. So for example, the laws of manifestation or attraction. If you're doing things and your motives are not so pure, or your motives, have selfish things lying within them or interlaced with them, right? Oftentimes those things will show up a lot differently than what you had expected or what you thought they would, right? Because there's kind of that, how do I word this? It's like your manifestation is tainted, right, by that underlying motive that isn't so pure. So I feel like this is something that you could be experiencing throughout the year, right? And it could be, um, maybe you learn a lot about manifestation. Maybe you learn a lot about working with spirit, right? Maybe you learn a lot about what your why is and why you have certain views on certain things. Or, again, it said in that book there, in the guidebook, right? Even if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing or why the law is the way it is, right? It still talks about still progressing forward. So let's take a look here at what the tarot has to say. What's interesting about this, though, before we move forward with the tarot, Scorpio, is the fact that we have that why with the book and then by the book. And here's the thing, there have been studies and research done on quantum physics, right? Which is essentially like law of attraction, those sorts of things, and how they work. Actually, this went so in depth in this book that I read called Christ Returns that I literally had to stop, listen to it several times because it was super, for me personally, scientific, right? And so, I feel like I had to say that for some reason. I don't know why. Um, because I feel like for some of you, you're like, okay, manifestation isn't real, it doesn't work, or something. Which I don't know where that's coming from. Maybe it's for somebody very specific. But I just felt like I had to say, like, there has actually been studies done and research done and things done in regards to manifestation and, essentially bringing to you that which you're putting out. Okay, energies, like energies attracting like energies, such things like that. Oh wow, I hit the light. Hold on, Scorpio. Let me fix this before we get all sorts of crazy up in here. All right, I think we got it now. Let me just a little bit. There we go. All right, sorry about that, Scorpio. Let's take a look at the tarot now and see. So we do have the Five of Wands in the reverse showing up for you first. So Five of Wands, Scorpio, is this energy of respecting differences, right? It's an energy of avoiding conflict. So again, asking yourself why you're in certain situations, why you're experiencing certain things is going to be very, I feel, beneficial for you, because I feel like it could help you to avoid certain conflicts. It could help you to understand or to, again, kind of respect the differences of others, right? I feel like it's going to put you in this position, asking why or what are your motives, right? Where you're able to make moves that are much smarter, right? More kind of by the book, right? That prevents you from experiencing things like conflict, right? Or competition, even, right? If you're asking, like, why am I experiencing this? Why am I doing this? I feel like it's going to save you a lot of trouble, okay? Or a lot of resistance, even in 2023. Yeah, you also have here the Eight of Cups. So this is an energy of walking away from things, being disillusioned, leaving things behind. And what's fascinating is we have, again, that Five of Wands, which is about respecting differences, right? So you may find that there are people, that where, or even situations, um, right, where you are essentially avoiding conflict by walking away from things that are just not in alignment with you. Simple as that, right? And I feel like this has to do with anything like behaviors, um, because wands is like energy, right? It's it feels to me like, I feel like anything where, how do I word this? Because there's a sense of like rigid, like a rigid sense of energy here, like almost like a, it's like, if you can't, how do I word this? You may find yourself saying, if you can't respect that this is my perspective, that this is, what I need to do, or how I need to move, or what have you, then I'm just going to, walk away. I'm going to respect that that's how you feel, but I'm just going to move on, right? We have the Three of Wands showing up for you as well, which, I mean, this is looking towards the future. This is expansion. This is waiting for things to come in. So it's really fascinating to me because, first of all, I feel like anything that's not in alignment with you, Scorpio, this year, you're walking away from. You're leaving it behind, right? I feel like there's not going to be a whole lot of internal conflict that takes place around that, because I feel like it is more just a, okay, I understand that we don't see eye to eye. That's fine. I'm just walking away from things that are not in alignment with me, right? And I feel like that's because I feel like for some of you, you're realizing that when you leave behind things that are not meant for you versus becoming attached to them, you create space, which allows for other things to come in, right? This is essentially like expecting things to show up, right? Growth, right? And I feel like you're going to be doing a lot of growing this year. I really do. I mean, or at least that there's the potential there for that, Scorpio, right? And here's the thing about the threes too. They're this very like excited or like kind of like happy type of energy, right? So I feel like there's this like I somehow I feel, yeah, I'm getting so much energy, Scorpio, because it feels exciting in the sense of like I've cracked the code. I don't know what that might mean for you. Maybe this is like that by the book, like seeing how things are done, right? For some of you, I feel like you may have, you, at least in 2023, you may feel like you've cracked the code, right? And you may be expanding at a rapid pace. You may be growing at a rapid pace. You may be looking towards the future with excitement, looking towards the future with, how do I word this? It's like waiting for things to show up. So there's this like anticipation. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for, right? What else do we have here for you? The Ace of Wands. This is beautiful. There's a lot of Wands energy here. Beautiful Wands energy. So I feel like you're taking action this year, Scorpio. I feel like you're really putting things, um, you're really putting things in motion, right? Really lighting that flame, as it were. With this Ace of Wands, right? This is an energy of like fire, again, passion, creativity, willpower, determination, right? So I feel like 2023 for you may be a year where, how do I, yeah, again, it's like, I feel like you start to put the fire back into life. There's this feeling of, not fuel to the fire. That's not what I'm looking for. Um, what is the word I'm looking for, please? Like a vitality. Yeah. Like I feel like, you, I don't know, there's this element of feeling more full of life, that life force, feeling like maybe you're plugged in, right? Um, and I feel like as you ask yourself why this year, right? Maybe you discover those things that really do make you come alive, make you feel passionate, make you feel inspired, motivated, right? Maybe there are things that really ignite that within you and become that driving force behind your existence, behind this year, right? So I love it. Because again, I just feel like there's a lot of like observing type of energy here. There's a lot of like, I'm taking responsibility, right? And I love this because I feel like there's a whole new world of perspectives just waiting for you to explore, Scorpio. So let's take a look at a shift or an epiphany that could take place for you. Beautiful. Yeah, you have happy, happy. The number 26, right? This reduces to 8, which is about accomplishment, also about action. Again, that energy showing up, right? As well as mastery. Did I say that? I hope I didn't say that already. Mastery. But I feel like a shift or an epiphany that's taking place is, I feel like I feel like for some of you, you find happiness in a place that you did not anticipate to find happiness. I also feel like for some of you, there's this energy of a shift or an epiphany happening in the sense of you learning how to master happiness. And I don't want to say like you become a Jedi Knight by the end of, 2023 with this, Scorpio, but, I feel like there's this element of learning how to master your own happiness, right? Learning that you take, learning that you are responsible for that, right? Like the choices you make, the energy that you put out there attracts to you those things. I just feel like there's this element of like, I'm responsible for my own happiness, right? And I think that's huge. I love that. It's a huge epiphany. It's a huge shift. It can create immense change, right? Especially when you start to look at things like, why is this happening for me? Why, why do I feel the way I do? When you start asking questions, you get answers, right? And sometimes that can be challenging, and other times, I mean, well, no, because even when it's super challenging, it still provides this opportunity for growth. It still provides an opportunity for understanding, right? So I feel like this could be a really big year for you, Scorpio. You do have here the Tower in reverse, which can be about fear of change, can be about fear of suffering. It can also be about, excuse me, avoiding disaster. It's interesting that this is the number 26 and this is the number 16. So both of them carry that 6 energy, right? Which is about harmony, is about cooperation, also about healing as well. So I do feel like you're likely healing this year. Okay. It's interesting because for some of you, I feel like there's something here about facing fears, and it creating this shift in the sense of like, I feel, how do I word this? It's like the burden that releasing the fear provides, or the release of the burden that the fear brings, I feel creates a sense of happiness, right? Because it's like, wow, like I've been carrying this around for so long. I didn't realize how sad it was making me, or how unhappy that this thing was making me, right? Like I didn't realize how carrying that fear was making me feel, or what it was creating within me, that unhappiness, right? What else do you have? Okay, the King of Pentacles in the reverse as well. This is an energy, I mean, it is kind of that energy of like being indulgent or greedy, right? Kind of like this energy of excess. Um, okay, thank you. Thank you. I feel like a big shift that's taking place for you, Scorpio, is this. I feel like there could have been a fear that you could have been clinging to or holding on to or perpetuating via the stories that you tell yourself about how it's selfish to want whatever makes you happy. Right? I feel like that's where the shift is coming with this happy card, right? It really feels to me like this shift is taking place where you could have had a fear of, people feeling like you're selfish, or calling you selfish, or feeling selfish if you chose to pursue things that make you happy, that genuinely bring about happiness for you, right? And I feel like this is you potentially taking action on that this year, right? And really stepping out of that fear and moving towards whatever it is that makes you happy, right? Without the fear of feeling selfish. It feels like, okay, this is what's making me happy, so this is what I'm going to pursue. And I feel like that creates immense shifts within you. Your biggest asset this year, wow, that's interesting. You have here the Orphaned card. This is the number 5 showing up, and it's showing up as your biggest asset, right? Which is interesting because this, it's contradictory to me looking at it, right? Or it would seem that way at the very least. But it's interesting because I feel like there's a benefit to you being alone, Scorpio, to some degree, because I feel like you learn a lot. Um, right? I feel like if you're open to it, you're probably able to observe a lot about yourself, especially in those quiet moments. I feel like there are some of you who likely find yourself very uncomfortable with quiet. Okay, I feel like silence could make a lot of you very uncomfortable, especially if you're not one who is, what is the word I'm looking for? Very conscious of how your own wounds and traumas and fears affect you, right? But there's another story here. Is like your biggest asset, one of them, Scorpio, is that you're just not meant to fit in. That's not to say that you can't find a place that you belong, Scorpio, because your people will find you, right? But you're not meant to fit in. And I think that's a huge asset for you. You have beautiful gifts that are available here. You also you have the Page of Cups, right? And the Page of Cups is that dreamer type of energy, right? So it's interesting because it's like you're not meant to fit in. You're a dreamer, Scorpio. You see things from a different perspective. You see things sometimes from a very youthful perspective, from a very curious or exploratory type of perspective, right? And with that Page of Cups here, being sensitive, feeling things very deeply, being a dreamer, being kind of innocent, right? There, I feel like there's this energy here, Scorpio, of you're just not meant for everyone. Like there are people that would pollute that beautiful energy, that beautiful innocence, right? And so sometimes you're kept on your own to protect you from those things. And I felt like I needed to say that. That could be for somebody very specific, but it just feels a lot to me like this element of, you know, being kept on your own or kept kind of hidden, as it were, for your own benefit, right? To help you in some way or protect you in some way. So release any fears about being alone, right, Scorpio? Know that if you are alone, it's intentional, right? It's done by God for a reason to protect you in some way, shape, or form. What do you have an opportunity to learn in 2023, Scorpio? Beautiful. Yes, I was picking up on this energy. You have co-create here, the number 4, again, showing up for you, right? Those manifestations and co-create. So I think it's fascinating because it shows up in this position where when I created this spread, right, this position was something that could be challenging or difficult to face. And I feel like the truth of it is, like I was saying earlier, for some of you, I feel like you struggle to accept or acknowledge that these sorts of things exist, right? That co-creation is real, that manifestation is real, that law of attraction is real, that like energies attract like energies, that it's just how the universe works, right? I feel like for some of you, that's a difficult concept to grasp, especially when you consider the fact that you may have experienced things in your life that are not so pleasant or that have been traumatic or wounded you in some way, shape, or form, right? Like, why would I bring those things into my experience? Certainly, I didn't want to be used in that sort of way. Certainly, I didn't want to experience that pain or that suffering. But the truth of the matter is, to some degree, you did. Right? To some degree, you co created your reality, whether how good or bad, because you needed to experience whatever it was that you experienced for a reason, right? It could have been simply to show you that you could survive. It could have been to show you how strong you are. It could have been to show you um, or for you to experience something that may come in handy when you meet someone else later because you can relate to them. Maybe you save them by sharing your story, right? There are so many different ways that things that we experience can show up in our reality as something helpful, even though at the time we didn't experience it that way. Okay. And I feel like this is something that could be very difficult for you to face, very difficult for you to acknowledge. But I do feel like it could create tremendous foundational shifts if you allowed it to happen. We have the Queen of Cups here, which is beautiful because with that co-creative energy, the Queen of Cups is somebody who is very intuitive, very aware of her emotions, right? And if she's manifesting, right, I mean, this is somebody who would be very conscious of what their emotions are and aware of them and unafraid of them, right? So I feel like opening up to that spirituality, that spiritual side of yourself, Scorpio, could be very difficult for you, which is weird. I mean, and I say that only because, you know, of that water sign that you carry, Scorpio, right? And I mean, I'm no astrologer by any means, and I don't know a tremendous amount of things about um, the zodiac signs and their characteristics. I do know that birth charts in their entirety affect us as people, right? Or our personalities. Um, you know, but this, it's interesting that there's this kind of fear here, right? There's this fear of spirituality or intuition, and I feel like this is something that you're learning, that could be difficult for you, right? A challenge, to accept and acknowledge that intuitive side of self, that spirituality, to accept and acknowledge that your emotions help to co-create your reality, and being in control of them is so important. Allowing yourself to feel deeply and to understand those emotions and to navigate them so that you're creating from a space of awareness is so important. Wow, yeah. So it's interesting too because there's the Eight of Pentacles here, which is about work, the work you put in, first of all. Right, if you look at the Eight of Pentacles there are many moons that she spent working on this, on herself, right? Um, and this is what I feel like is going to be another big challenge for you, Scorpio, is putting in that work, right? Putting in the work to within yourself and being patient as well, right? And it's interesting because there's that co-creative energy, and seeing that as a challenge, and seeing like being in touch with your emotions and understanding them, and being in touch with their spirituality and your intuition, and allowing yourself to feel them and experience them, seeing that as being a challenge. I feel like there's this element here of the fact that it's going to take patience from you, Scorpio, right? It's not just going to happen overnight. You're not just going to um, manifest your entire reality perfectly, right? That's not how this works. And I feel like that's going to be a challenge as well, because I feel like to some degree for some of you, there's this logic of, okay, well, if I co-create my reality and if I manifest what I want, and God is, just essentially trying to answer what I'm asking, why did these things not show up? And you know what I'm saying? Like, where's the proof of that? I feel like is what is where you may be sitting with this. And there's an element here of, well, first of all, it takes patience, because we are in a physical density and things don't just manifest by that quickly. They, on some occasions they do, right? But not all the time. Sometimes it's not the right time for us, and God's like, okay, but wait, we can't give that to you yet. So there's that aspect of it. There's also the aspect of it not being beneficial for you, not being helpful or conducive to your growth, to your level of understanding, right? It could also just, again, just be like, it's not for you. And I feel like that can be difficult for some to face as well, right? So I feel like there's a learning process that takes place here, Scorpio, for you for this year, right? Around, again, your emotions and manifesting and co-creating your reality, and the amount of work that you put into that, the amount of patience that you have in that, how much time and energy you're willing to dedicate to that work of self, that work of emotions, that work. And here's the thing, like, I don't I'm just going to call this spade a spade, because it's fascinating that we have the cups, which represent emotions and intuition, and then we have pentacles, which represents the physical world, and we have co-create, which, in order to co-create your reality, you have to be able to be very intentional with your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, your words, your everything, in order to bring into your physical world anything at all, right? You have to be in alignment with that energy. And that has a lot to do with your emotions. So, it's interesting that it's here essentially saying, like, you're co-creating your reality with your emotions. And the challenge for you, Scorpio, is going to be grasping that and putting it into action, putting it into practice, rather. Okay. So what does your soul want you to know, Scorpio, for 2023? Wow, that's fascinating. You have time to go here, the number 45, which is fascinating, right? Because again, this time to go energy is very similar to the 8 of Cups energy that you had showing up around your theme, right? So I feel like your soul wants you to know that there are going to be some things that you're going to have to make calls on, some things you're just going to have to walk away from. This includes behaviors, habits, people, situations, hobbies, right? Places. It can vary depending on who you are, what your purpose is here, what your soul growth, all sorts of things. But I really feel like your soul wants you to know that there are going to be some tough decisions that need to be made. But in making them, right, in order to, or in choosing rather, to walk away from certain things, again, you make room for things that are meant for you. And I feel like this is something that you're being reminded of. Okay. I feel like your soul wants you to know, again, there's going to be things you're going to need to walk away from this year. Okay. So just be ready for that. We also have the number 30 showing up here with TikTok. Your soul wants you to know that it's interesting, because I feel like for some of you, there's this message of, like, you're not running out of time. You have all this time available to you, right? I'm seeing these hands as almost like giving time. Okay. So I feel like for some of you, there's this message of, like, time is not running out, right? Like, you're not running out of time. You have plenty of time to accomplish or to do, create whatever it is you would like to. I feel like your soul wants to remind you of that. For others of you, I feel like there's a message here of your soul saying, like, don't, it's time to go. Because, right, we have time, and then we have, with the time to go card, If you can see that there. And then we have TikTok, right? So for some of you, there's this message of like, are don't waste any more time. Like, just get out of the situations that you're meant to be leaving, right? Stop wasting time. Take it as it resonates with you. I feel like a majority of you, there's this energy of like, stop wasting time, right? Because I feel like you know what you need to be doing, right? Or there's situations, people, hobbies, behaviors, habits, those sorts of things that you should be leaving behind, that you know you should be letting go of, right? It's like, why are you continuing to waste time when you know it's time to go, right? So again, take that as it resonates with you. What else do we have here? Wow, we also have thinker. This is interesting because we go 45, 30, and now 44. This thinker energy has been showing up for a lot of the sign, Scorpio, so know that you're not alone. I feel like there's an element here with this thinker card of like overthinking. I feel like some of you may have come to some sort of conclusion, whether prior to 2023 or throughout the year, of situations where you may need to be leaving, where you may need to be walking away from, or, you know, leaving behind, moving onward from. Nothing personal, just, you know, it's like, this is no longer conducive for my growth. It's no longer beneficial. It's no longer, right? It's just not, I'm not in alignment with whatever this is, right? So for some of you, I feel like you've been overthinking this situation, and it's prevented you from taking the steps needed in order to actually move, to actually go, right? And so I feel like your soul's kind of calling you out in a way on this, right? Saying like, why are you still thinking about this? You already know what needs to be done. So why are we wasting time? Again, take it if it resonates with you, leave it if it does not. For others of you, I feel like for some, maybe you're getting, you may, I don't know, it's interesting because I feel like for some of you, like there's this energy of like, it's time to go, but you have plenty of time. Like, what is the, so for example, let's say you've been in a job for like 20 years and you're like, how can I start over now? How can I switch my career now? Right? And essentially what's being told here is your soul saying you have plenty of time to do whatever it is you need to do or want to do or want to create, right? Like, don't overthink it. Like, make a plan, make a strategy, and move forward, right? So again, take it as it resonates with you, take it as it resonates with your situation. But I definitely feel like there's this element here for some of, you know, you're not out of time. Make a plan, make a strategy, and carry on, right? Move on. The tarot with this card is the Nine of Swords, which if you look at her, this is nightmarish type of energy. And I feel like the message coming from your soul here is like, whatever this is has already caused sleepless nights, has already caused anxiety, has already caused worry, has already caused stress, right? So again, why are we it's like, why are we still thinking about this? Why are we still here? Why are we still putting energy into this? Why are we wasting our time experiencing nightmarish energy, anxiety, worry over and over and over, hopelessness, right? Again, whatever this is, I feel like it's already caused like, you know, again, anxiety, worry, stress, these sorts of energies, right? It's already created this in your experience. So yeah, I mean, I feel like again, it's that energy of like, why are we still thinking about this, right? Time to move on, time to leave that nightmare behind, right? And it's interesting because that Nine of Swords, swords energy is mental energy. It's in your head, it's your thoughts, right? So it's like, you already know that it's time to go. You have already, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already know what it is. It's already been consuming your thoughts, right? And there's three T's here, so that may be important for somebody listening, right? Maybe you have, I don't know, maybe it's an initial, or maybe it's important in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you enjoy tea, okay, right, or golf, or something like that. Maybe your name starts with a T, first or last, right? Maybe whatever it is that you need to be moving away from starts with a T, or, you know, has a T in its name or its title or something, okay? Very interesting to me how all three of those would come out that way. Super fascinating. Let's see what God wants you to know for this year, Scorpio. Okay, you do have the number 33 here with chaos and conflict. So what's beautiful about this, Scorpio, is I feel like what God wants you to know is that while things may feel chaotic, right, you have this energy of like asking a lot of questions, having or these foundational shifts coming in, right, creating new experiences, new perceptions on beliefs, and manifesting and co-creating in the universe, and your place in the world, right? You're also leaving things behind, right? So I just feel like there's a lot going on for you this year, and it may feel very chaotic. It may feel like there's a lot of upheaval taking place, but I feel like what God wants you to know is if you look at this card here, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it to focus. But if you look at this card here, there is this zebra that's in a giraffe costume. But the giraffe parts of it are starting to peel away, as it were, right? So what's really taking place here and what God wants you to know is that all of these things are happening for a reason, right? This year may feel very chaotic. It, again, may feel like there's a lot of upheaval, a lot of things taking place that may feel very wonky. You may feel out of whack, right? But you're in a state of transition. You are discovering who you are at your true authentic self, at your core, at your soul, right? And I think this is a beautiful unfolding for you or unveiling for you, right? And so I feel like God's saying, like, though it may feel chaotic, though it may feel, conflicting and going against what you thought you were or what you thought you knew, right? Know that this is for your growth. And it's beautiful because, again, you have that 3 showing up, which is about growth. It's about expansion, right? And I feel like this is so important for you. You also have the Hierophant here, and this is absolutely beautiful, right? In many circumstances, that Hierophant represents like legacy or tradition, right? Societal rules or religion or your cultural rules or familial rules, those sorts of things, right? But the Hierophant can also represent like being your own guru in the sense of knowing yourself well enough to know what you need, right? Knowing what's true for you, knowing what works for you. Again, being your own guru. And I feel like this is something that you may be uncovering this year, Scorpio, right? Again, with that chaos and conflict, there's that peeling away. And I feel like you may discover, Scorpio, that you know better for you more than you thought you did. I want to do a couple of things. Firstly, I want to jump into the guidebook for the Wisdom of the Oracle, and I want to read the Oracle message for this chaos and conflict. After that, I want to jump into the Light Seer's Tarot guidebook, and I want to read to you the key words of the Hierophant because I feel like it's going to add a little bit more to this part of the reading for you. So let me just find this quickly. I almost opened up to exactly the page I needed. That was wild, but thank you, Lord, for how quick that was. Let me grab this book so I can look at the Light Seer's Tarot next. All right, so for this chaos and conflict card, the oracle message is disarray, being at cross purposes with another, the tension of opposites, the value of chaos before order. Okay, and it says, opposing forces come together to create a turbulent atmosphere. But consider the value of chaos that serves you well as you become unmoored by it. Scattered to the winds, you leave behind the parts of yourself that you no longer need, and disperse seeds to reinvent yourself anew. Although the conflict appears to exist externally, its essence is also internal, projected outward and causing disarray. You may find yourself at cross purposes with someone else, facing a storm you feel you cannot control. Yet every storm passes and chaos leads to a reordering of things. Conflict provides a way to see more than just one side of a situation. Look upon this as just a side of a, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I am like, can't read. Yet every storm passes and chaos leads to a reordering of things. Conflict provides a way to see more than one side of a situation. Look upon this as just a moment in time when you may need to take shelter and step away from the fray. Don't be too eager to fight. This is a time to understand rather than to be understood. Oh, and excuse me, I just got this burpy fear energy. I feel like there's a lot of fear here, okay? Showing up for you, Scorpio. And I feel like this has something to do with not being understood or feeling like you're not understood, right? But I feel like there's an element of like, if you are able to observe, right, and like, I feel like you can learn a lot when you're observing and trying to understand things versus trying to be understood, right? So it's kind of takes it away from that me energy and looks at the we, right? Because it's like when you observe, you learn a lot about other people, but you also learn a lot about yourself and how you respond to things. So let's take a look at the Hierophant, and I'm only going to read the key words here. I'm not going to read the whole interpretation of this card. So the key words here are tradition, a lesson, spiritual leader or guide, enlightenment, awakening, in service of spirit, formal education or training, and new paradigms, right? So again, I really feel like this shift that's taking place for you is this one again where I feel like you're becoming your own guru, right? I feel like you are awakening to the truth of who you are, at your core, right? But I do feel like it's going to be a bit chaotic at first because you've got to strip away all of the old in order, you know what I'm saying? In order to get to that truth, you've got to be willing to like peel back all of the things that you thought were your truth, right? I love this. And I also love the fact that you have that 33 there in this position because, again, this is, essentially God saying to you what you need to know, which is fascinating now that I think about it because, again, it's about like tradition and religion. But that 33 is essentially like the Jesus code or the Ascended Masters, the number of the Ascended Masters, right? Those threes. So I love that it's there because I feel like you have support from that, right? Should you choose to tap into it, ask for it, right? And I love that it's there. But again, I feel like God wants you to know that this chaos is ensuing, or it may feel that way, right? Because you are learning about yourself and are awakening to the truth of who you are, right? And creating shifts within your reality, within your truth. So it's going to feel uncomfortable. But once you get to that truth, right, then everything starts to change. Like if you look at his face, he looks delighted, right? Overjoyed. So welcome that discovery, right? It may be uncomfortable at first, but welcome the discomfort, knowing that on the other side of that is, that truth is that overjoyed truth of who you are. I think it's beautiful. All right, so a blessing you'll have the opportunity to receive, Scorpio. You do have poised here. This is the number 48. And here's the interesting thing about this is I feel like something that this year is going to teach you, right? And think about this, please, right? Because this is a blessing that you'll have an opportunity to receive. So it's this not guaranteed, right? You have an opportunity to receive it. It may show up for you, but are you going to, is the question, right? So I feel like you'll have the opportunity to receive the blessing of being ready for anything. I feel like this year could really give you an experience where you could learn how to better navigate your own emotions, better navigate your own feelings, right? And be able to have more control over them and utilize them, right? But I also feel like tuning into your intuition, things like this, it's like be ready for anything. And this is a blessing that you could have the opportunity to receive, right? I feel like if you embrace the fluctuating energies of this year, it'll put you in a position where you can not only be ready for what comes next, whatever that may be, right, in 2024 and beyond, but you can also just be ready for anything, right? There's this energy of, I feel like the fluctuation of what's taking place this year and the uncovering of who you are that could how do I word this? Like, put you in a position where you're able to better navigate things, right? So it's like anything that's thrown your way, you're able to find your way through or around or over or what have you. Beautiful. You also have imagine here. Okay, so it's interesting because, so you do have the number 48 here with poised, in case you are curious. And then you have the number 20 here with imagine. And these are, again, they're blessings, right? You've had a lot here about co-creation and manifesting. The number 4 has shown up for you quite a few times, Scorpio. So it's really interesting because I feel like a blessing that you could have the opportunity to receive is if you align with this and understand that you do co-create your reality, and it is based in your intentions or your motives, your whys, where you're sitting with your energy, your, like I said, your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, right? Are they all in alignment with what it is you're trying to manifest? Because here's the thing, I feel like you have the opportunity to put yourself in a position, Scorpio, where it's like, be ready and imagine what could come, because you might just get it. I don't know who that's for, and maybe it's for somebody super specific, but there is an element here of like, imagine the possibilities and be ready to get it, because it may just show up. Especially if you welcome this work that's being presented to you for this year, right? Especially if you are essentially obedient to your path, to God, to source, however you, whatever you want to call it, right? God's like, it's time to go. You're like, okay, I hear you. Moving on, right? We're making space for new things to come in. And again, maybe you co-create a new experience. You have community here as well, right? So I feel like it's interesting because these two kind of feel separate from each other. I'm not going to lie, like they feel almost like different blessings. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and set these ones down. This one here with the community card and this blessing potentially showing up for you, or you may have the opportunity to receive, right? Is interesting because you have orphaned here, which is essentially like, I don't feel like I fit in. I want to find where I belong, right? That's what the community card is. Right? The community card is essentially finding that place where you feel held, where you feel supported, where you feel like you belong, where you have found like-minded, like-spirited individuals that you connect with, right? And so you could have the opportunity to receive this blessing this year, right? But I feel like it's going to ask you, or yes, thank you. It's going to ask you to put yourself in positions that maybe you didn't before. And also, again, to walk away from things that are not meant for you so that you have room to welcome in this community once it, you know what I'm saying? Like, once the opportunity is there. Because everything is energy. And if you don't have the energy, you don't have that energetic space capacity to welcome in anything else, do you really think that God is going to bring it to you? God's going to be like, hey girl, you have like 10 friends you're trying to juggle already. You don't have room for more friends, right? Or, hey man, you really want true love, but you're juggling, you know, 2 different girls. Like, you don't have room for true love to come in, right? Or, oh, hey bro, you want that job, but you're already working yourself, you know, to your extent. If we put anything else on your plate, God's like, you're not going to make it. So that might be one of those situations where God's like, hey Scorpio, quit that job. And you're like, wait a minute, what do you mean? If I quit my job, how am I going to pay for anything? And God's like, you got to trust me. You got to trust me. And it's so hard, right? But again, you're co-creating with the master creator, right? Divine consciousness. I mean, but it's a choice. You have a choice. You always have a choice, right? So you could have the opportunity to welcome in a community of people who understand you, Scorpio, but it's all a matter of, are you going to do what's necessary in order to put yourself in a position to be able to do that, right? Again, what are your motives? Why are you doing what you're doing? So for clarity, we do have the Queen of Wands in the reverse showing up first. And it's super fascinating to me, right? Because this Queen of Wands, first of all, in the upright, she's like super lively, super passionate, joyous. She's full of life, right? She's like, her energy is infectious. She's bold, courageous. She's not going to take no shit from nobody, I promise you, but she's going to do it in the most polite kind of way, right? Like, I feel like this showing up in the reverse is, again, like I was saying, is that energy of like, are you going to be willing to do what's needed to be done in order to receive these blessings, right? Because it's going to require that courage. It's going to require that bravery. It's going to require, you essentially wanting those things. The Queen of Wands in the reverse represents selfishness, insecurity, jealousy, right? So like, are you going to be insecure, right? Are you going to be insecure and kind of shelter away? And like, that's how I'm seeing this, is like, right? Because you have poise, you have imagine, and that is like, be ready for anything, imagine the possibilities, right? And this is like that energy of like, but I'm too scared to consider the possibilities, right? I'm too afraid. I'm too insecure to consider what's possible, right? I'm too afraid or too insecure to put myself out there or to let go of what I currently have, because what if I can't find more friends? What if I can't find that community? What if it doesn't find me? What if the possibilities aren't even there? Like, what if they don't even show up, right? I feel like this works for both of these cards. It's interesting because the tarot feels like it's working for like both sets. Wow, you have another queen showing up in the reverse again. So it's interesting because the Queen of Swords in the reverse, this is like energy essentially that's, it like doesn't know the truth, it doesn't have a very good perspective or clarity, right? And it's not telling the truth, right? So again, it is this energy of like, are you going to be willing? Because it's a blessing that you have an opportunity to receive, but you're going to have to be courageous and you're going to have to be honest. So it's like, are you going to be able to do that? Right? This is like, I always have that mentality of like, God doesn't really just give things away. You have to put forth some sort of effort. Even when you pray, you have to like come to God, right? To some degree. You have to put some form of effort forth, right? And this is how I'm seeing this as well, is like, in order to experience something you've never experienced before, in order to have all these possibilities that are endless, in order to experience a community of people who really understand you, you have to be willing to be courageous, you have to be willing to be brave, and you have to be willing to be truthful. You have to be willing to be who you are, transparent, right? Like, the Queen of Swords is a complex being, but she's very honest, right? She's very truthful. And I just feel like these are things that that are gonna need your attention and need your permission to take place, right? It's interesting too, because you have here finally with the tarot the Nine of Wands, which is an energy of like perseverance. It's an energy of like the rebel kind of, right? Like digging your heels in type of energy, right? Like taking that last stand type of thing. And here's the thing, like, this is what I feel like it's going to take you like not giving up, right? It's going to take you putting in the grit. Like, that's how I feel like you are going to have the opportunity to receive these blessings. It's going to take you actually like putting that fire behind what you're doing, right? Again, persevering, just refusing to give up. But you're capable. It wouldn't have showed up otherwise. You're capable of being courageous. You're capable of being honest and truthful, right? You're capable of gaining clarity. It's just a matter of, will you, right? Are you going to persevere? Are you going to, essentially refuse to give up and keep going? And if so, it seems to me like there could be some incredible epiphanies, some profound shifts and growth that takes place for you this year, Scorpio, should you allow yourself the opportunity. I want to thank you so much for being here. I have truly enjoyed reading for you. Thank you for sharing your time and energy with me. If you found that something in this reading has resonated for you, please do the YouTube things by liking, sharing, and smashing that subscribe button. It really does help the channel to grow. It tells YouTube that there may be something here for someone else, and so they push it out to more people, and I'm truly grateful for that. So again, thank you so much for being here. I pray that your 2023 is full of courage, full of bravery, full of expansion, full of perception, new awarenesses, right? New spaces of observing yourself and the world around you. And I pray that you discover that you are truly magic, because you absolutely are. Take care of your beautiful, unique soul. Have an amazing 2023, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.